Good morning. This is Scott and the Shop coming at you live from Gridley, California. Hey, people, the smoke is starting to roll into Gridley now from Southern California, and it's getting thick. You know, when you watch the news lately, last night, today, and every time somebody confronts one of these Democrats about the unpreparation, the lack of preparation they had for this fire, they don't want to finger point. That's done for later. Done for later. What are you talking about? The finger pointing should be right now, people. So keep finger pointing and doing what you're doing because it has to be done. These people need to be voted out of office so fast. I mean, they should all resign if they had any kind of dignity. But they have no dignity. They have no pride. They're about nothing. These people are about nothing. They had a city councilman go on there, and you can tell he's a little liberal homo. And I don't mean to say that. I mean, he's one of those a DEI candidate. You can tell. I mean, because they're all DEI candidates, or this wouldn't have happened. We need to get some Republicans in office, people, because sitting there worrying about social issues all the time, that's all the state of California does, and that's all Joe Biden was doing in the federal government before Donald Trump just creamed him in the election. All they care about is social issues and trying to divide the country through social issues. That's what it is, people. It's not that they really care about these social issues. I mean, well, the ones that these DI candidates do because they're the transgenders, they're the weirdos. I mean, uh, they don't care. All they care about is division. That's why they have these programs. They want to sow division, and and that's exactly what they've done. And because of their lack of competency, you're seeing these fires get out of hand. Now the fires would have happened anyway, people, because we got. I mean, there's no laws anymore. There's no deterrence to keep these people from doing what they do. When I was growing up, if you were an arsonist, if you started a fire that endangered people, you got 20 years in prison, if I remember right, and which it should be. When you commit arson, you should be put into. I mean, especially if it's anywhere near anybody's house, just screw it anywhere. It should be a mandatory 20 years in prison. You just gave up your life. You just gave up 20 years of your life for endangering lives and people's property. When you go back to the 1800s, people, you know why they used to hang people back in the day for stealing a horse or and things like that? Because stealing that person's horse means that they had no way into town, means they couldn't plow their fields. A lot of times it was a death sentence to the people they stole that horse from because they couldn't afford another horse. I mean, I know that analogy goes back a long way, but that's called deterrence. We have no deterrence for anything anymore. I mean, that's why shoplifting's out of hand. That's why these snatch and grabs with 50 people are out of hand. That's why you have millions of fires every year started all over this country, and they're on purpose, people. They're done on purpose. I mean, the wind doesn't start a fire. I mean, people start fires. I mean, and nothing gets done about it. You know why? There's no real punishments that really deter somebody from doing this type of activity. They're talking about this morning on the news about these people that are calling people and trying to solicit fraudulent money that's fraudulent because it's not a real organization or and stuff like that. These phone frauds, they've been happening forever. Nobody does nothing about that. I mean, nothing's getting done about nothing, people. That's why we voted. Well, over half the country voted for Donald Trump because, I mean, why aren't the other half? Why isn't the other half of the country tired of this shit? How? I mean, I don't care if you want to be a weirdo and all that, go be a weirdo. But do you really not care about the safety of the people of this country, about our sovereignty, about everything like that? I mean, I don't get it. Everybody's just so retarded anymore. I mean, and those people in LA, I feel sorry for them. But you voted for these people. All them. I mean, these people get elected not from me in Northern California. I live in Gridley. They get elected from all the population of people that live in the Los Angeles and San Diego area. You know what I mean? They're the ones that's the main bulk of the country, and they're the ones that keep voting in these liberal politicians, Democratic liberal politicians that absolutely don't care about nothing except promoting division, being racist, promoting all this stupid social crap that I don't care about. I mean, go be a freak. I don't care about it. I don't want to hear about it. I just don't want to know it. Just go off and go crawl in a hole somewhere. Because if you're not in a hole in there cowering, I mean, you're out here propagating crazy shit. I mean, and that's what you get. People of LA, you got what you voted for, and I hate to say it that way. I'm pointing a finger at you. You voted for these people into office, not all of you, but most of you. I mean, let's not point fingers right now. It's not the time for pointing. This is the exact time for pointing fingers. I mean, what? In a year from now, if people still can't even clean up their homes, you're going to be going, it's not the time because the homes aren't cleaned up yet. I mean, and by that time, there'll be a million other fires because that's what happens when you got no deterrent for all these heinous crimes that people are doing. There's no deterrent. I mean, there's no deterrent for drug use anymore. There's no deterrent for meth, cocaine, fentanyl. If there was a real deterrent, it wouldn't be happening. I'm talking like closing down that border. How many terrorists have came over that border over the last 4 years, and how many of them are starting these fires? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think it's them and not the American citizen, but in this world, who knows? Who knows? Because they've been promoting lawlessness for a long time, the Democrats. Lawlessness. That's what happens in California now. Lawlessness. But if you go buy a weapon and defend yourself, then you go to prison. You go to prison. I mean, it's really crazy, people. I mean, it's not funny, but I'm laughing about it. I'm laughing about it because it's so predictable. When you don't give a shit about people, when you don't give a shit about nothing but social injustice, I mean, stop it. It's not like it's back in the 40s and stuff. It's not like it's back in slavery days. Nothing like that's going on no more, people. There's an asshole in every crowd, and you can never stop that. There's a bully at every school. You can't ever stop that. I mean, you can't stop. I mean, you don't base your laws for safety and people's, that's all I gotta say. But when it comes to safety and prevention, you don't base laws on that. I mean, everybody's just went and lost their mind, and it's because they're being ran by a bunch of mindless dumbasses. I mean, that don't care about nothing but what sex you are and trying to teach it to your children. I mean, I keep saying that, people, because that's all I see here in California. A bunch of weirdos that don't give shit about nothing. I mean, all they care about is getting reelected through division, racism. I mean, reverse racism. I mean, division. It's all the same. It means it's all the same thing. I mean, but these fires in California, that maybe that wasn't preventable, but it sure brought the light into how unprepared they were. I mean, and maybe it would be preventable if they started seeing people getting thrown in prison for an amount of time that that's equivalent to the crime they're doing. Then it might stop. These crimes, I mean, when you look it up, the average penalty for an arsonist with people's lives is 9 years. 9 years. You're telling me that if somebody gets caught with this fire here, I mean, possibly the most are going to get is 9 years. And since somebody died, it'll be more. But I mean, if somebody loses their home, just one person loses their whole home from an arsonist, don't you think somebody should get more than 9 years in prison? I mean, because these people that set fires are so dangerous. People, they're worse than a murderer running around, because when a fire gets out of control, you can catch a criminal. I mean, if you try, but most of these fires, I mean, they can't be contained for days, sometimes months, sometimes years. Like that one that burned in Washington State about 17 years ago for, I don't know, but it was burning down, in the middle of the mountains where they couldn't get to for like 9 months. I mean, are you serious? I mean, people need to be held accountable. I mean, they need to be in trouble, big time trouble, when it comes to these crimes like arson. I mean, that's the main one that affect so many lives and has the potential to kill so many people through one act of ignorance, of stupidity, of evilness. I mean, so that's what I got to say about this, people. I mean, we got Gavin Newsom running around, has no answers, lying about talking to that lady. Like, he's lying about talking to the president. He don't even want to be confronted about it. He shouldn't even went there. He's part of the problem, so he shouldn't be part of the solution. He needs Newsom, the mayor of LA, the lieutenant mayor who's under investigation and not, I mean, for calling a bomb threat. That's what you get from a Democrat. These people need to resign. They need to resign if they have any kind of dignity. They need to resign because they've already showed their incompetency is beyond repair. It can't be fixed. I mean, but these people definitely shouldn't be part of the solution, because if they had any kind of ideas or any kind of, if they were a good politician, the solutions would have already been there. You know what I mean? The solutions would have already been there. I mean, they're whining about Donald Trump calling out the obvious. I mean, come on. I mean, People need to stop coming down on Donald Trump. He states the obvious and nobody wants to hear it because it's the flat out truth. I mean, but the people of LA, people of California, I voted for Donald Trump. But you guys better start voting Republican because the Democrats have lost their way so long ago. I really have a hard time believing that many people wanted to vote for Joe Biden again. I mean, or Kamala Harris. I mean, when this country's been tanked, the state of California, well, look what's going on there now. And I live here, so I can say what I got to say because I live here. That's my opinion. This California state sucks big time. I mean, big time, people. It's like a third world country anymore around here. Crime it's out of hand. Homelessness out of hand. Arsonists out of hand. It's never ending, people. So, I mean, I'm pointing fingers right now because they need to be pointed right now. And I mean, everybody needs to start pointing the finger and talking up. So these people resign. Resign, Newsom. Resign, fucking. I don't even want Mayor Bass. Resign. You people shown that you're incompetent. You're incompetent. When it comes to running a country, or a state, you are incompetent. You are a city, you are incompetent. You should not be there. You should resign in disgrace because you are a disgrace. You just allowed millions of fucking people to be affected by something that could have been prevented a lot better than it was. No fire in the hydrants. I mean, no water in the fire hydrants. Are you serious? I mean, ocean water right there that can be used to dump on, to be dumping on these fires. I mean, there's plenty of water, people. Salt water is not deadly. It's not going to kill you. They swim in it. They should have been dumping that salt water on those Malibu houses as soon as it started. I mean, they should have a pump system out there pumping salt water onto those fires to save lives, to save houses, to save property, to save our federal government money from having to give it to the state of California for their ignorance and their incompetency. I mean, you know what? When a natural disaster hits back east, like a hurricane or a tornado, I can understand that we should give them all the funding in the world. But when it comes to California, my own state here, I don't think they deserve funding from incompetence. I mean, how do you get funding because you're incompetent? I mean, that sets a bad precedence for any other liberal state or liberal governor and liberal mayor of these liberal cities and these anyway. These sanctuary cities, they need to be held accountable. They need to be stopped sending them money no matter what. I mean, until they get their shit together. They don't have their shit together, and giving them money when they're incompetent like that, giving this state money when they show that the degree of incompetency here is beyond repair. I don't know about that. I mean, the state of California needs to figure it out. They can figure out this, so maybe they can figure out how to send some money to these people. I mean, that's all I got to say about that. I mean, I don't think it's the federal government's business at all when it comes to a state being ran by Gavin Newsom and he can't get his shit together. I mean, they deserve no federal funding. I mean, that sets a bad precedent for giving federal funding to a man who's incompetent, to a state that's incompetent. I mean, that's all I got to say about that. This is Scott in the Shot, and I hope everybody in LA stays healthy. I hope they get out of the fire zone alive. But you get what you voted for, people. You voted for all these liberals, and that's what they get you. Nothing except incompetency. This is Scott in the Shot. Scott the Great. I'm out of here.